We're talking about Dr. Martin Luther King. Let's play a little bit of sound from his final speech in Memphis when he was there on behalf of sanitation workers striking against the city. This is one part of it. Arden, will you play that?
Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest for right.
Somewhere I read. That was a frequent use of rhetoric by Dr. Martin Luther King to remind the country of its founding documents, what they said, and how they must manifest themselves for all Americans. Correct?
Yeah.
How do you react when you hear that?
Yeah. I was in Memphis yesterday at the chapel where he last spoke. I'm talking to Bill Lucy, who was one of the primary negotiators with AFSCME, the American Federation of
State and county municipal employees.
County and state employees and everything else. And he pointed out where he was sitting when he said those words. And he says, sometimes he wakes up at night crying and asks himself, what if this had not happened here? What if this had not happened? Mm-hmm. And I think we both kind of like started to well up yesterday in Memphis as we sat there, because it's always a what if. And just from the vantage point, it was somewhat just his voice. You imagine someone has the power with his voice, his oratory. I remember his speeches. If I could have been in Egypt, if I could have been at the Roman Empire, if I could have been all these other places, the moment was here. He was always in the present. He was always in the present. I don't think that there's anyone who forced himself and pushed us into the present, struggled with his own consciousness, and kept pushing us to the present. Not as a dreamer, but as a realist. Not as someone who was removed from what was happening with real people, somebody engaged. Remember that moment before he was there in Memphis, he was talking to sharecroppers in Alabama and telling them, they're saying to them, we're going to Washington as poor people market, and we're going to work with you and work on your behalf.